There's nothing more useless than doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. So let me say that again. There's nothing more useless than doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. And there's so many things I think that all of us are trying to do more efficiently. It was a question that we all ask. It was a question I've asked probably 100 times. And it was, man, how do I become more efficient? How do I become more effective? How do I, how do I manage my time better? And I've tried every single time management process in the world. I've tried all the templates. I've tried all the workbooks. I've tried all the, the journals, the thises, the that's. I've tried it all. And finally, I just had to pick one thing, which is my habit tracker, to not organize my time or not to be more efficient or effective, but to make sure I'm doing the right priorities. As he's talking about, a lot of us are trying to do time management around things we shouldn't even be doing at all. So if you have a list of 20 or 30 things or 10 or 15 things and you're going, oh my gosh, I just don't have the time to do it all. What we don't need is time management. We don't need to learn how to do all those things and just try to, how to manage our time better. Should I time block better? Yeah, time blocking is an amazing tool. I do it. You should do it. Okay, time blocking is great. But I think we use time blocking to do things we should never do in the first place. Okay, but what if you're trying to manage things that you shouldn't be doing in the first place? I'm about 35 days into my 75 hard journey. If any of you guys have not been following me on Instagram, head over to IG and look me up, trevor.mauch. That's M-A-U-C-H. And y'all, I'm feeling amazing. Like I haven't had any real energy dips. I've had insanely high energy for 30, 40 days straight now. I have been able to actually operate really well on a little bit less sleep than normal. That's not my goal. But I'm getting 6.5, 7 hours of sleep, and I might kind of max out at 8 every now and then. But usually I'm a 7 or 8 hour guy. But just with the extra energy and just eating right and drinking enough water and just working out and moving my body twice a day, the energy is just popping. So if you're struggling with energy, if you're struggling with any of those things and you're saying like, what can I do? Can I have another Monster Energy drink or whatever it is? The answer is you just need to do the fundamentals. You need to move. We need to drink water. We need to eat healthy foods and stop eating crap. And so that's not why I'm doing this Carrot Cast episode. This one right here is inspired by a book that I'm reading during 75 Hard. And so, first of all, I have no intentions, y'all, on stopping the 75 Hard routine after the first 75 days because, first of all, it just feels so amazing. It's not something I want to stop. Next, I've started to kind of just get into a mode where it's like, this is just life. This is just life, and it feels great. It feels great to move twice a day and have energy and have my body just feel amazing. And it feels just right reading every single day. I don't think I've ever in my life read 10 pages a day every single day for a month straight. But I've done that now for 35, 36 days in a row, and I don't plan on stopping. It's easy. It's just something that you do now. And I've been going through more books than ever and learning more and just so many awesome things. And people might be asking, hey, does this impact family? Is it impacting time with your wife or with your kids or anything like that? I'll do that on another episode. The short answer is no, but I'll tell you how on another episode I'm doing that. So what I want to talk about in this one is something I got from a book that I'm reading right now. So the book I'm reading right now that I'm almost wrapped up with is It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work. And the book is written by the guys who founded Basecamp, the project management software. And they've really been progressive in a lot of ideas around how to run businesses that are not these crazy businesses to work for and these businesses that that just drain your energy and are frantic. And I really like a lot of their concepts. And at the back of this one chapter where it talks about having less things to do, there's a quote from Peter Drucker in it that really struck me. Peter Drucker is probably the most famous, I'm probably going to butcher this, but he's probably the most famous process-oriented thinker in the 20th century. And he was the guy who essentially, way back in the 60s, things like that, around that time, 50s, 60s, he's the one who went into Japan and some other places and help make them manufacturing powerhouses by implementing new ways of doing manufacturing and quality control, and really helped Honda and Toyota and companies like that start to thrive. And then those models were adopted across the world. And there's a quote in there that says, there's nothing more useless than doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. So let me say that again. There's nothing more useless than doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. And there's so many things I think that all of us are trying to do more efficiently. You know, I'll talk to people. I had a great podcast the other day with Matt Slowick, and you guys are going to be able to hear that episode if you haven't already. And the question that he asked, and Matt kind of won the record for the most Carrot Cast listened to in 2020, which was amazing. We celebrated on that call, talked about some of his biggest takeaways from the Carrot Cast. And I said, dude, while we're here, fire your questions at me. And his primary question was a really good question. It was a question that we all ask. It was a question I've asked probably 100 times. And it was, man, how do I become more efficient? How do I become more effective? How do I manage my time better? And I've tried every single time management process in the world. You know, I've tried all the templates. I've tried all the workbooks. I've tried all the, the journals, the thises, the that's. I've tried it all. And finally, I just had to pick one thing, which is my habit tracker, carrot.com/habits, carrot.com/habits. You can get the entire thing there, the exact tool that I use right now every single day, every single week, every single month, to not organize my time or not to be more efficient or effective, but to make sure I'm doing the right priorities. And that's really what Peter Drucker's talking about. As he's talking about, a lot of us are trying to do time management around things we shouldn't even be doing at all. So if you have a list of 20 or 30 things or 10 or 15 things and you're going, oh my gosh, I just don't have the time to do it all. What we don't need is time management. We don't need to learn how to do all those things and just try to, how to manage our time better. Should I time block better? Yeah, time blocking is an amazing tool. I do it. You should do it. Okay, time blocking is great. But I think we use time blocking to do things we should never do in the first place. Okay, or there's the list, the book Getting Things Done, an amazing book on productivity and time management. That's awesome. But what if you're trying to manage things that you shouldn't be doing in the first place? And so for the next 2 or 3 minutes before I park the truck, heading into the office right now for the workout, in the next 2 or 3 minutes, I just want to talk about managing priority, not managing time. And managing priority is a big deal because when you're going back to Peter Drucker and the book, It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work by Jason Fried, when you're going back to those concepts, they're not talking about trying to manage 10, 15, 20 different things on your calendar. They're trying to say, hey, what did I say was most important this year? What did I say was most important this quarter? And now what are the things that I have to do to achieve that stuff for this quarter? And then pull back and write those essential things. Well, in order to do that, I have to do this thing. And I had a chance to have Jay Papasan on, who is the co-author of The One Thing with Gary Keller. He was on the Carrot Cast. Go back and listen to that one. Look in the show notes. And the focusing question from that book is such a good thing because once we ask the original question of, oh my gosh, here's my quarterly objectives and my goals, what do I have to do to make sure that I'm doing that? The focusing question from The One Thing is such a great tool that I've been using for years. It's literally taped on my computer screen. It has been for almost a decade. And that question is, what's the one thing that by which doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And let me give you an example. Okay, what's the one thing that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? Here's the example. Right now, I'm leading the marketing team here at Carrot, and we're getting some amazing process in place and getting some really good momentum and training and teaching the team how to think about marketing in a more scientific way, and all these amazing things. But what I was doing probably even a month ago is I was showing up to work with this list of things that we needed to do on the marketing team, right? This list of things where it's, hey, roll out this page and get this data and all these types of things. And I was just falling more and more behind. And so then I pulled back and I said, well, shoot, let me ask the question. The question is right in front of my screen, right? What's the one thing that by doing it, everything else would become easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? The word unnecessary is the big part. That's what Peter Drucker's talking about. That's what the book, It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work, is talking about. It's not talking about what are the things I could be doing. It's talking about what's the one thing I could do that makes everything else unnecessary, that makes all this other crap on my to-do list not even matter anymore, that makes it to where I don't have to manage my time around that stuff. And in that case, it was hire a director of demand gen, hire a director of marketing, right? It's like, because that person would take care of all those tasks, all those things that were piling up on my list since I adopted the marketing team. And so that became my number one. It wasn't get this data, it wasn't get these things and get distracted by that in the short term. It was get the hiring process spun up and hire this person to lead the marketing team, because that will make everything else on that task list easier or unnecessary for me. So what are some other examples? Let's say you're a real estate agent or real estate investor, and you've got a bunch of phone calls coming in because your marketing is working. You might be looking at this going, oh my gosh, how do I carve out more time for making these phone calls, right? And your phone calls may be piling up, and you may be looking at your other things going, shoot, I don't have time to pick up this stuff at the laundry now. I don't have time to pick up this. Man, I'm getting behind at home now, and my spouse is feeling it, and that sucks. And you might be looking at that list pile up and say, how do I make my time management better? I need to manage my time better, right? Here's these 35 tasks. I'm feeling weighted down. Maybe none of those 35 tasks are actually what you should be doing. Maybe there's one thing you should be doing, which is hiring an assistant. And so then you look at that and look at your tasks and say, okay, well, I need to write a job description for an executive assistant. Okay, awesome. That's the thing you should be doing, not all those other things that are weighing you down. And you should put the other things off for a week or 2 or 3 weeks and hire that executive assistant. That one thing is going to make everything else easier or unnecessary to do. No longer have to manage time around those things. You just manage priority. So what's another couple examples? So let's say you're doing marketing, okay? And you're going, oh man, I know Carrot works. I know it crushes. I know there's tons of people getting so many great results through Carrot, right? Because you hear the podcasts, you hear the case studies, you see the results online. But then the question might be, how do I manage my time better to go through the 3 lead per day training, and then to execute the 3 lead per day training, and to still be able to field phone calls from sellers and buyers? And how do I manage my time better to serve my spouse and my kids and the other things I have to do in this business, move my bank accounts over and all these things? Well, the executive assistant question can help with that, right? So you get that in place, and that answers a lot of it. But maybe the other one is, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing the SEO on your website. Maybe you should go through the course, spend 5 or 6 hours on it, learning about what it is, execute a couple little things from it, just so you know if the person's doing it well when you outsource it. But then maybe the very next thing is you go to our marketplace and find a great SEO provider, or you find your cousin Eddie who just wants to do 4 or 5 hours of work for you for $15 an hour or something, following our training and hopping on our coaching calls. And maybe that's the one thing you should be doing. Maybe it's not learning about SEO. And maybe you learn the basics of it so you understand it, but then the very next thing on your to-do list is not to do all those things, but to write a job description, right? And then to go find Cousin Eddie, or go to Upwork.com and find someone who can execute our plan, not an SEO person. You're not wanting to look for an SEO person. An SEO person is going to execute their own SEO plan, and it's probably not going to work or could penalize you. What you want to do is find someone who's proficient at some of that online stuff, someone who is decently technical, someone who may have some SEO skills, and say, I don't want you to use anything that you know. I want you to just go through this training and execute everything that it says in that training. That's your one thing, right? So carve out 3 to 5 hours this week to go find someone to do that work for you. So I want to ask you this before I head into the office. You know, what else are those things that are on your to-do list that you should not be trying to make more efficient? Going back to Peter Drucker, because there's nothing more crazy, these aren't his words, but there's nothing more crazy than trying to make efficient things that you should not be doing anyway. So I want you to look at your calendar this week. What are you trying to make efficient that you should not be doing? Where are we spending time getting dragged into the weeds when the focusing question from the one thing is our answer? What's the one thing that by doing it is going to make everything else easier or unnecessary? And we oftentimes work backwards from that. You know, we oftentimes look at the to-do list and we're just doing the easiest stuff because it's quick and it's easy and we want to make it happen, when we're never actually tackling the things that are going to take care of the whole to-do list for us in the first place. We're always doing the things in the weeds, and we're never actually, plowing the dirt and finding the people who can actually do the work for us. So if you're looking for time management practices right now, I want to challenge you. Maybe you don't need that. Maybe you don't need to manage your time better. Maybe you need to manage your priority better. And so as you head into this next week, as you head into today, pull up a piece of paper, write down all of the things that are on your mind that you have that are open loops that you should be doing or that you think you should be doing. pull those puppies up and then immediately figure out what you can just cross off. What can I just cross off, right? What's not relevant now that was a month ago when I thought I need to do it? What did I commit to that, man, I shouldn't have committed to, and I just really need to reach out to that person and say, I love you, but I really overcommitted myself and I want to make sure to serve you well, and I can't do it yet, but maybe next month or next quarter. Is that okay? You know, what else can you do there? And then next are the things that you can't just cross off or say no to. And it's the things that maybe have to get done. But then I want you to ask yourself, are those actually the most important things? What's the one thing by which doing it will make all of those things easier or unnecessary? Is there a hire you can make? Is there a process you can create? Is there a system you can get? Is there software like Carrot you can get instead of building your own website, which you're going to end up having underperform for you anyway? Okay, what's the one thing that you can do that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? Guys and gals, I'm going to head into the gym. Okay, as I think about the gym and as I think about, how the gym actually plays a role for me into that question, 2, 3, 4 years ago, I'd be asking the question, man, how do I manage my time better? Because I feel like I'm just out of energy and I feel like things aren't working. And guys, it wasn't a time management issue. Okay, what it was an energy issue. And once I asked the right question and said, what's the one thing, by which doing it will make all of that energy stuff easier or unnecessary, what happened was I started working out and I said, shoot, if I just work out and if I just get my energy back and drink a lot of water and eat healthy foods, and if I do that, maybe all this time management stuff isn't needed anymore, right? Because my energy's there and the work that I'm getting done in that moment is just better. It's better quality work. And so ask yourself that question, y'all. Are you focused on the wrong things and wearing yourself into the ground? You probably are. And so hit me up on Instagram, DM me over there if you have any questions or if you want to run any of these things by me. And please, guys, follow me on Instagram because you get to see my journey, hear my journey, see where it's working, see where it's not. And hopefully replicate some of the stuff that is working and stop some of the stuff that I'm doing that's not. Follow me over there on my journey. Hopefully it helps you on your journey. And we'll talk soon, y'all. Go subscribe, get first access to these episodes, and go to carrot.com/habits to download my daily, weekly, monthly goal and habit tracker. Talk soon, y'all. On the habit tracker.